Hello, everybody, and welcome. So we will wait for a few people to get in here before we start. I hope everybody is having a good week so far. Good morning, Courtney. Morning, Courtney. Good morning, Adegini. Good morning, good morning. So we've got some new documents that are in. There is a hearing today. Everybody's been blowing up my email, wondering what's going on. Good morning, Lisa. Nice to see you. So I'm going to show you what the documents are and give you an idea of what I think it is based on what the judge has now put into the record. And see what what your opinion is too, because I have my opinion about what is going to happen. And these court documents, we'll know a little bit more today once this happens. Hello, Charlotte. Good morning. Bonnie Baker, good morning. Okay, so let me... Cleta, good morning. Good morning, everybody. So let me bring up the first document. And I'll make it full screen. So here is the first document. This is for... They've marked it as a status conference for today. It's at 2:15 Eastern. So that'll be like 5:15 Eastern. This is Pacific or something, I guess. Yeah, good morning. So this is a notice of a hearing, and they're saying here a status conference. So that has got me a little, what's this about? Because here it's a notice of hearing. Here they're saying a status conference. We all know that Bryan was just in court. So what could this be about? So here is the order regarding the hearing today. We are not allowed to live stream it. We will not have access to it. But it says the court is mindful that limited courtroom capacity and potential travel restrictions may interfere with the victims and the defendants' families' ability to observe the court proceedings, in this case on August 23rd at 2:15 p.m. Pacific. Therefore, in the event they are unable or prefer not to attend the proceeding in person, the court finds it necessary to make the court proceedings available via Zoom for the victims and the defendant's immediate family and family members under the following restrictions. It's hereby ordered the victims and the defendant's immediate family members may observe the court proceedings in person via Zoom. And as you can see, they have blocked out the meeting ID and passcode. So the Zoom information above shall not be disseminated to anyone other than the victims and the defendant's immediate family members. So that's mother, father, brother, sister. Any recording or live streaming of the proceeding is prohibited. So let's go and see what the judge put in the records. Now, we know that Bryan was just in court. There was some things that were decided upon. There's also some things that have been left to another hearing, which is the motion or application that Bryan Kohberger's lawyers have filed to dismiss the indictment. Okay. Hello, Shivani. I believe that too, but I think that there's more to it. I think they're trying to, I do think that they put it this way before we go over the next documents. I'm kind of leaning towards they want to go to trial quick, but with getting a little bit of extra more time to prepare without having to give up his right to a speedy trial. The thing with this is if he waives his right to a speedy trial, he could be sitting in jail for the next 3 years before this is brought to trial. He doesn't want that. So they're doing everything in their power to not have to waive speedy trial, but get more time. They are bombarding the prosecution with hearings and motions. Now, some of them legit, yeah. As the prosecution has said, like, we have given you everything we have. Is there things still outstanding? Yes, but they're not in our possession. Now it is up to the prosecution. Get your shit together, get that stuff, get on the tails of either the FBI, the lab, whatever you got to do, get this information to them. But I do believe they're being weighed down, and this isn't an excuse. But when you've got a defense team that every week is filing motions and motions and motions and motions, the prosecution has to respond to them. They are burying them in paperwork and motions. Okay. And that is a little bit to give them an advantage of keeping them so busy replying to motions and everything else that they don't have time to do what they're supposed to be doing. And then the defense complains that they don't have certain information or they don't know where to find certain information. And I mean, if you're too busy responding to motions and everything else, it sets things back. Now, is that an advantage to the defense? Absolutely. Okay, so some of these motions that we see that look frivolous to us and everything else, some of them are, and some of them is for that reason. If we bombard them and keep them busy replying to our motions and having to come and argue, a defense to those motions we're filing or an objection or whatever they're going to do, they're not working on the case to get everything together on the case to get it over to the defense and get ready for this trial. That's what I think. But there could be something else here. Let's go through these documents and we will see. Good morning, Caroline. Good morning, Tube Crime. Nice to see you, my dear. Says, good morning. Good morning. With our justice system here, I can't blame crazy brows for trying. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more to it. We're going to get into that. Okay, let's just get through this paperwork first, and then we will talk a little bit about it and what we think our theories are. Yeah, a lot of distracting going on. Good morning, Norma. Good morning, Dawn. Yeah, endless distractions. Okay, so let's get back to this. So order regarding notice of hearing and Zoom information. Okay, we've already gone through this. Okay, so let's go through with the scheduling order. At the last hearing, the judge made it clear. I can't count how many times the judge said or the prosecution said, this is cutting things close. This is coming up quickly. October 2nd's coming quick. They are going through with this and they are pushing it. The judge made a comment at the last hearing. I haven't been able to watch all of it, but watch bits and pieces. And even in just the bits and pieces that I watched, the judge made it clear, like, this is coming. Get ready. This is coming. More or less, like, stop the petty stuff. You guys should be working together. He trusts that the prosecution is telling the truth with that they have given everything that they have. He kind of threw some jabs at the defense saying, like, he knows what's going on. Okay, we'll leave it at that. He knows what the defense is trying to pull here. They are just within the lines. They're coming really close to that fine line. Like I'll reference that motion that they filed citing laws back to the 17 and 1800s and the tons of pages. The judge has to go through that. The prosecution has to go through that. Like, times have evolved. We're not in the rock age anymore. There's things that have been consistent with grand juries over the last 20 years. But they decided that they were going to bring up laws from the 17 and 18 and early 1900s. And, and the prosecution has to read through all this, which is taking time away from them preparing for this case, getting everything together, getting everything to the defense. And I believe that's what the defense is doing, is trying to bury the prosecution paperwork so they are not ready. I think they know their goose is cooked, and the only chance they have right now is to get this dismissed because speedy trial rights are violated. Okay, so this is what the judge has ordered. And like I said, I can't even count how many times he's made them hear him say, this is close. You better be ready to go. You guys aren't going to waive your speedy trial. You better be ready. You better not be wasting my time clearing my calendar to get this trial set. And you guys turn around and pull something funky, okay? So the scheduling order. Based on the hearing held on August 18th, the court orders the following. A status conference will be held on August 23rd at 2:15. Now, what I think that means is you've got until August 23rd to figure out what the hell you're going to do. If you're going to keep going like this, they keep asking or filing motions to stay to get more time and everything. No. No more of that. The judge did not allow more time. He's ready to go on October 2nd. He's setting the time aside for the trial. They best be ready. And if they're not going to be, if they're going to waive their right to a speedy trial or anything else, they better be bringing it out at this status conference right here. Okay? So that's what's happening today. And that's why I think the judge did that. A hearing on defendant's motion to dismiss the indictment will be held on September 1st at 1 p.m. Any additional motions regarding the dismissal of the indictment are due by August 23rd. So what I think they are going to do, a lot of people are saying, okay, he's going to waive his right to a speedy trial. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he is going to be giving more motions regarding this dismissal. I think that they are really trying to get this dismissed. And if they can't, then I believe they are going to waive their right to a speedy trial. I just can't see them being ready. Or the prosecution. I mean, the prosecution's going to go with what they got. But I cannot see the defense. This is a death penalty case. I can't see them being ready to go and giving the best defense that they can give by October 2nd. So I think that they're going to put their toes in the warm water here, and they're pushing closer to that line. Okay, there's a fine line, and then this judge is going to lose his crap. I think they're trying to push to that line as close as they can. And I think that they are going to bring up more motions regarding the dismissal of the indictment. Now, what does that mean? Even if the judge would dismiss the indictment, the prosecution would just indict him again. Okay? So that doesn't mean he gets out, anything like that. So why they're doing this, like I said, I think they're just trying to bury the prosecution in paperwork so they can't get done what the defense is asking them to get done. So we'll see today. We're not allowed to live stream it. We're not going to be able to watch the hearing. We'll hear about it later on. I'm sure that there's going to be media in the courtroom. So we'll hear about what happened later. So any additional motions regarding dismissal of the indictment are due by today. The state's response briefing is due by August 30th. So this is exactly what I think they're going to do. They're going to bury them again because they only have until August 30th to respond. A jury trial is set to commence at 8:30 a.m. on October 2nd in courtroom 3 of the Latah County Courthouse and will run until November 17th, an 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. schedule. So what does that mean? That means that nobody has filed for a change of venue. Nobody has asked, that jurors be selected from another county. Is that coming? I bet you it is. I bet you it is. Jury selection shall begin at 8:30 a.m. on September 25th and is anticipated to last at least 3 days. Can they get a jury in 3 days? I don't know. I think that's kind of cutting it close, because you look at the Letitia Stout case, and that took like over a week, right? So I don't know how they figure they're going to have this done in 3 days, but we'll see, especially doing it in the county that this happened in. A final pretrial conference will be held on September 29th at 10 a.m. Discovery must be completed by September 1st. Now, I have this saved in my documents. I'm not going to put it on my calendar right now because I don't think it's going to go through. I think there's going to be something changing today. I do think today, hello, Ashley. I do think today that something is going to happen that is going to change this trial. I don't think the defense wants to peeve off the judge. So one of two things is going to happen today. They are going to continue. We'll get some information today. If they don't waive their right to a speedy trial today and decide to go through with the trial on October 2nd, we will know that today. Let's see here. I feel anyway. Because if the judge puts all these dates aside and this stands, he's going to be awful peeved off if the defense turns around and says, okay, well, we're not ready. We're going to waive our right. Discovery must be completed by September 1st. That means for the defense to give the prosecution their discovery and vice versa. If the defendant intends to rely on the defense of alibi, a notice of alibi with the specific place or places the defendant was at the time of the alleged offenses and the names and addresses of the witnesses defendant intends to rely on to establish such alibi is due by September 8th. So the judge has now given a deadline. If you feel that he has an alibi, you've got to disclose that. And just an alibi is not, oh, he was out driving around. If he was out driving around, then you got to say where, when, who seen him, where did he go? Because if that is the case, he would be caught on camera certain places, right? Hang on a second. Sorry about that. What I think is going on here is they are wanting more information so they can base their alibi around what the prosecution has. They're going to try and find loopholes in certain things, and that's going to be their alibi. So I think that at one point the prosecution even said, look, at what the defense is trying to do is wrong. It's not allowed in the rules. They're wanting everything we have before we have the deadline to produce it. And they're trying to push out their alibi and filing their alibi information until they see everything that we have. And then they're going to try and fabricate an alibi around that, which is not right. So I do get where the prosecution's coming from. If you got a solid alibi and he was, this to me is just showing guilt. Because if you have an alibi, you've been asked for by the court several times, produce it. You wouldn't have to wait to see what the prosecution has. What the prosecution has wouldn't matter if you have a solid alibi that says, look, I went to Chick-fil-A from 1 o'clock. I was there from about 1 o'clock till about 1:45. From Chick-fil-A, I, went up to the boat docks and I was sitting at the boat docks looking out over the water. From there, I left and then I went on a little drive to another area. You know what I mean? If you have a solid alibi where you can say exactly where you were, produce it. Why are you waiting on to see what the state has before you produce your alibi? You know what I mean? Because to me, looking at maps, he had no reason to be in that area of 1122 King Road unless he knew somebody there and was visiting with somebody or something. There's no little corner store in that direct area. There's no gas station. There's no Walmart in that direct area. Okay. And you see on the videos, the passing that he is doing, going back and forth, doing the 3-point turn and everything else. And I mean, I called this from day 2, you guys. One of my very first reads, before any of this information came out, I described him to a T. Before there was even a suspect, I described where he parked. I described that he went upstairs first, and then Ethan and Zaina were, I think, collateral damage. I think the targets were on the 3rd floor. I called a lot of this before any information came out. And then December 3rd, I think that reading was, where I said, police know they have a target, when they were still saying, we don't have a suspect and all this. And my read said they have a suspect. They're just gathering more and all that. Described again Bryan Kohberger to a T before we even knew who Bryan Kohberger was. That they had something on a suspect, but they needed more information. Well, that's when they were trying to get the DNA, the genealogy or whatever. It all came out in my read on December 3rd before we even heard Bryan Kohberger's name for the first time, that he was giving lectures and stuff like that. So it's really wild what comes out. And then when you go back and you look at those reads, and then with what we know now, it's amazing. Shivani says, one of the weakest alibis ever presented so far. Yeah, I think the defense knows that they're not going to be able to get him off on this. She says, I think all he wants is to fix his holes to fill what the DA has. So BS. He is clearly playing a game. If he has a real alibi, he would have given it day 1. Right. Who would sit in a jail cell if you have an alibi that Bryan Kohberger says would exonerate him? You wouldn't be sitting in jail. You know what I mean? They're going to manufacture the alibi based on the prosecution's evidence. That's what I believe. Jenna, that is exactly what I believe. Okay, so the judges put a date now. If you're going to rely on that, you better have it in by September 8th. If the defendant intends to waive his right to speedy trial and not proceed to trial as scheduled, he must do so by September 8th. So, which leads me to believe over here, for this hearing, is that he is going to bring, and it says it up here too. He's going to give they're going to give additional motions regarding the dismissal. That's what I think it's going to be. They're going to try and get this dismissed. If they can't get it dismissed, especially by these dates, then they're going to probably waive their right to a speedy trial. But if they feel that they've buried the prosecution enough in these motions, they may just say, you know what, we're going to take our chance. This is our best chance that they're not ready, that they don't have all the information that they need to get a conviction. They may just go ahead. Like, this is so unconventional, what they've done in some of these motions. So he only has till September 8th to waive his right to a speedy trial. All pretrial motions with supporting briefs, including motions in limine, motions to suppress, and motions regarding the death penalty, are due by September 8th. Response briefs are due by September 15th. Any 404B notices are due by September 15th. Proposed jury questionnaires and proposed jury instructions are due by September 15th. Sentencing disclosures, including witnesses, exhibits, expert reports, and any other evidence are due by September 15th. All pretrial motions will be heard on September 22nd at 10 a.m. Proposed jury instructions will also be addressed at that time. On or before September 8th, counsel shall exchange and provide to the court a list of witnesses and lay an expert, and a list of exhibits with attached copies of exhibits as set forth below. Rebuttal experts must be disclosed by September 15th. So September 8th, they're going to have to give all their lay witnesses and expert witnesses. And then each side will then decide, okay, we need to get a rebuttal expert for this, or another expert of some kind, or a lay witness, which is somebody that may corroborate their stand on something. Those experts must be disclosed by September 15th. Each party shall prepare a list of exhibits that it expects to offer, excluding impeachment documents. Shivani says, Kohberger has a long-standing pattern of disturbing and disturbed behavior, but prosecution would not even need that to get a conviction. That's what Shivani says. Ashi, this is all a game to him. I agree. I believe the judge the other day was trying to make it clear as possible that this alibi, Did Bryan have any help in committing the crime? No. Nope. Did it all on his own, in my opinion. Okay, so each party, Running Grey Wolf says, hello, beautiful Willow. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for being here, Running Grey Wolf. Okay, so each party should prepare a list of exhibits that it expects to offer, excluding impeachment documents, to the court and to opposing counsel. Exhibits should be listed in the order that the party anticipates that they will be offered. She says, thank you, not hank you. Smart butt phone. Oh. Each party shall affix labels to their exhibits before trial. The state's exhibits should be marked with red labels in numerical sequence. I'm having a hard time talking today. Good morning, Fruit Fly. Defendant's exhibits should be marked in blue labels in alphabetical sequence. If there are more than 26 exhibits for the defendant, mark them AA, BB, etc. Keeping in mind exhibits that may be grouped together for easy reference. The action number of the case should also be placed on each of the exhibit labels. Exhibits should be lodged and served as required by this pretrial order. Exhibit labels can be obtained from the deputy court clerk. Counsel shall provide a copy of each exhibit and an exhibit list to the opposing counsel and the court. Copies should be made after the labels are marked and attached to the original exhibit. To expedite trial, each exhibit to be offered should be viewed by opposing counsel prior to trial, and a determination made as to whether an objection will be lodged against the exhibit. An exhibit to which there is no objection will be admitted prior to trial. So there could be exhibits that either side intends to use at trial that the other side is going to be objecting to. So then they will, when that issue comes up, they hope to get this all out before trial, so they can say, okay, all your exhibits agreed, they can be entered into evidence. The same for both sides. There may be some that one side or the other is going to fight. This will do nicely. Hello. So he wants an exhibit to which there's no objection will be admitted prior to trial. The parties shall provide each other with a list of their witnesses, both a lay and expert, and shall provide the court with 2 copies of each list of witnesses, one of which will be provided to the court reporter for accurate spelling of each witness's name. Witnesses should be listed in the order that counsel anticipates calling them. Now, that doesn't always work out. So sometimes one witness that you have, say you've scheduled 2 or 3 witnesses for the day, one witness, like say your second witness, may run really late, which puts everything behind. So they want them in the list that they are going to call them in, but sometimes they don't always go in that order, because if one witness runs late and they can't get that third witness on, they've got other witnesses coming in the next day, or a witness may have to return the next day because there wasn't enough time to get them on the stand for the day that they were scheduled to be on. So that would have to change, what sets everything else out. There could be, something that comes up in one of the witnesses' life that they just can't make it on that day and they have to put them to another day. So that's nothing that is unusual. Dated this 22nd day of August, a Nook Pro took, which means that he's signing this because he made these orders in front of everybody in court on the 18th. He's signing it today as if he was signing it then. That's what that means. And this was given to everybody. So that's where we stand, you guys. The hearing is going to go ahead today. I do think that they're going to bring up more either issues or more motions or something regarding the dismissal of the indictment. That's what I think they are going to do today. But what happens today and what they bring forth today may give us an indication on what they are planning on doing. As far as I'm concerned, they've been playing games for some time. So what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think. Okay, oh yeah, so it's at 2:15 p.m. Pacific today, so that's 5 p.m. Eastern. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think that they are going to do? Do you think they are going to waive their right to a speedy trial? Do you think they're going to push through with October 2nd? Do you think they're going to fight for more time, blaming the prosecution again, that the prosecution hasn't given them the evidence that they're supposed to get? Like I said, I tried to explain the best way that I could that they're burying the prosecution in all these motions that is taking time away from the prosecution getting together and getting everything set to get over to the defense. And like we heard at the last hearing, is the prosecution has said, everything we have, you have. So I do believe that they are going to bring up something again today. And by doing this, you guys, it's giving them more time to dig up more reasons why this indictment should be dismissed. So, like I said, even if the judge was to dismiss the indictment based on errors, which I don't think there are errors, they're saying an indictment has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. I think they're saying, or they're trying to say. But the grand jury, all they got to do is find that there is enough there, probable cause, not beyond a reasonable doubt. So, I mean, and that's the way it's been for years. So, I can't see the judge dismissing the indictment. And even if he was to dismiss it, Bryan Kohberger still stays in jail. And they just refile the indictment and they have another grand jury. Yeah, they are. They're hoping for a Hail Mary for sure. And they're hoping that by burying the prosecution and all this paperwork and all these motions and everything else, that they may even get what's this? Well, that's possible too. But I think he's trying to get this whole case thrown out because the speedy trial rights are violated. That's what I think they're trying to do, because it's their last hope. They know his goose is cooked. He's not going to get away with it. And the bottom line is this fighting over the DNA. I get it. Prosecution, in my opinion, should just say, here, we've got to blank out this, and this because it goes against somebody's privacy rights. But this is how we got to figuring out that it was Bryan Kohberger. This DNA was matched to Bryan Kohberger's father. Give them it. Give them it. Just redact names and personal information, but they don't want that. They don't want a redacted version. There's got to be some kind of, rights that these people have so that their names aren't plastered all over court documents. Like, we see what happens. Look at in the Kylie Rodney case. Names were just thrown out and people's lives were put at risk, were harassed, and there was death threats. They don't want to put all these people's names out there. All they've got to know is this: we got DNA off the snap. Okay? They took that DNA, they ran it through CODIS. There was no match in CODIS. Okay? Which means whoever's DNA this is, they have not done a crime that their DNA was taken and their DNA put in CODIS. So now they have this unknown DNA. So what they did is they ran it through some genealogy testing. Now, with that, I'm going to try and explain it the best way I can because I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know enough. When you submit your DNA for 23andMe or stuff like that, there's forms that you got to sign. If you check that box saying that you do not want your information shared, and the police use your information to get something like a profile for a DNA sample that they have, then the person that has the right going forward to file some kind of claim is that person who submitted their DNA, not Bryan Kohberger. Okay? So it's almost like Bryan Kohberger his lawyers are trying to fight the rights of the people that submitted their DNA. The only one that can fight for their right there are the people who had submitted their DNA, in my opinion. So if I submitted my DNA and my DNA was used to get a profile for an unknown DNA sample that the police had, and the police used my DNA to find my father, which in turn shows that my father's DNA is a partial match to that DNA sample that shows that unknown DNA sample, he is the father of that contributor of DNA. He's the biological father of that contributor. Then me and my father would have a claim. You know what I mean? If my father put his DNA in there too, I would certainly have a claim. But the person arrested would not have a claim. You know what I mean? So anyway, but the bottom line is, give them the information. We took the unknown sample of DNA. We ran it through 23. I don't know what sites they did. Okay. 23andMe or Ancestor, whatever those sites are. And they got some kind of information that showed that their sample was the biological son of Bryan Kohberger's dad. And it was a male. It's a male DNA sample that they have, unknown. Now they know that it is a biological child of this Michael Kohberger. Well, Michael Kohberger only has one son, which is Bryan. Bryan also happens to own a car that they were looking for. Bryan Kohberger also happens to be in the area. Bryan Kohberger also has a K-bar knife that was purchased. Bryan Kohberger also followed, we know, at least 2 of the girls on social media, followed others that were part of this on social media, that he reached out to at least one of the females sending messages that went unanswered. There's all these links. There's phone tracking. There's GPS. There's cameras that caught him in the area that night. This isn't just coincident, you guys. If this is all coincidence, he has got to be the most unluckiest guy that ever walked the face of this earth from the knowing of time. He has to be the most unluckiest. He should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. If there was just that, I could see the defense saying, look at, that's all you have. Somebody could have stole his knife. He could have gave it to somebody. He could have been at a party there and left it there. They could say anything. But when you put together everything else that they have, to me, right now, with just the evidence, and I'm not going by anything that was said on other channels and all that crap, I'm going by what they have in evidence so far that we know that is in the probable cause affidavit, the GPS of his car, the tracking of his phone, the cameras, the DNA on the snap. I'm going by that. I believe he's guilty. I don't know what alibi he could come up with. And as far as the car, everybody's going, well, it could have been somebody else's white Elantra. Okay. What other white Elantra was in that area that night? Because we know it's Bryan Kohberger's car with no front license plate. Washington and Idaho, you have front and back license plates. Pennsylvania doesn't. And lo and behold, Bryan Kohberger's car at that time of the incident was registered in Pennsylvania, which requires no front license plate. Okay, so the woman who dismissed him from his security position at the school years ago was given a few details about his history back then. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that, Shivani. I'm going to stick to just the facts that we know are in evidence. Jenna says, I got booted and had to hunt for you. Oh, no. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button, Jenna, and you will always be able to find me. Hit the little bell. You'll get notifications when I go live. So if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. And hopefully this trial is going to be able to be live streamed. And if it is, you guys know, you'll be able to watch it every day right here. I will be covering it every day. So, law is always going to trump our rights, right? Yeah. Well, I don't think the state would ever miss an important hearing. They're going to have somebody there. But what they're doing is they are flooding so much paperwork into the prosecution's office, and they've got to deal with that, like any motions hearing, any notice of motion, anything the defense files, they have to respond to. If they keep bombarding them with motions and all this, the prosecution has to continue not only reading what they're filing, they have to respond to it and then appear in court, which is taking tons of time away from them getting ready for this case. So that's what they're trying to bury the prosecution. I see it happen often. Well, thank you, Jenna. Thank you. And that's what I think they are doing, you guys. Dawn says, Willow, thank you for doing this. I love this stuff, but it's hard to follow. You make it easy to understand. You're awesome. Oh, thank you. Well, you guys are all awesome too. I appreciate you guys being here and supporting the channel. And so what do I think is going to happen today? I think that they are going to file more paperwork for this dismissal of the indictment. They're going to do their best at trying to get this dismissed. If they can't get it dismissed, I believe that they are going to complain again. Where is this? Oh, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you. Okay, a hearing on the defendant's motion to dismiss indictment will be held on September 1st, but they only have today to give any additional motions regarding the dismissal of the indictment. And it's right here. And then the state will have, so this is what I don't get, you guys. Let me just get this. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate you. And you guys, look at the end of every month, anybody who's given a $10 or more super chat during any of my lives or for the replay crew, there's a little heart under every video. You can do a super thanks there. Anybody that's given a donation of $10 or more, you're going to be entered into a draw. I'm going to have a basket of stuff, including crystals, decks of cards, maybe some bracelets and stuff like that, that I'm going to do a draw. So Ashley, so we are running from the 24th, August 24th, today, 23rd, today to September 23rd. We are starting today, a draw. So Ashley Kane, you are on the list. I believe you are on the list twice now. So any $10 super chat on any of the lives or any of my videos from August 23rd to September 23rd, you are going to be entered into the draw for the basket of stuff that I'm going to give away. I was just giving away like maybe bracelets and stuff. I've also got another, let me see where to go. Everybody liked the rose gold, the rose quartz set. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me go grab it. Give me a second, you guys. And then we're going to get back to this. Yeah, I don't know where it was put. Just a second, guys. Oh, is it? It's still in the car. Okay, sorry, guys. It's still out in the trunk of my car. The rose gold set, it's a bracelet, it's a pendulum, and it's a necklace. And it's rolled rose gold quartz. So, you are entered into the draw. Thank you, Dawn, again. Well, yours is the only channel we can come to and get the real scoop, all facts and no rumors. Absolutely. I don't do the rumor thing or all that. There's just too much that's put out there that isn't true, so I stick to what's been verified. So thank you for that. Thank you, my dear. You are entered into the draw. Don Stedman, you are entered into the draw. Let me just get you down here. So right now you're ×1. So each $10 super chat, you can do it as many times as you guys want. Put as many entries in as you want. For each $10, you get an entry into that draw. Your name's put on the wheel. And I'm writing them all down so I don't forget here. Okay. So it's saying here, any additional motions regarding dismissal of the indictment are due by August 23rd. So what that means is they have to type something up and put it into the record. So, because the state has a chance to respond, and the state's response briefing is due by August 30th. So any additional motions that the defense is going to put in, which they only have to today to do, the state has until August 30th to respond. So why are they calling a hearing today? The status conference is going to be held on August 23rd. Well, thank you, Jenna, for becoming a new member. Welcome to the family. So this was signed on the 22nd. So what happened between the 18th and the 22nd, the date of this signing right here, what happened between the 18th and now to call this? Because this is now number one on the list. I don't think that was talked about at the last hearing, that there would be a status conference on August 23rd, because they just had a hearing. You know what I mean? And then they had until today for any additional motions regarding the dismissal, and the state gets till the 30th to respond. So I can't see them just having a hearing because there was more motions filed regarding the dismissal, because the state has the right to respond to that by August 30th. And we're only the 23rd. So they wouldn't have set a court date to speak on this because the state has until the 30th to respond. So they don't set a hearing until the state responds, right? So this is very confusing as to why there is a status conference today. Interesting. What else is here for September? All discovery must be completed by September 1st. That is not this Friday, next Friday. Right? So things are coming down to the wire. And the judge has made it clear, you best not be wasting my time. So this is the only reason that I'm thinking that they might be either making a motion to get more time again, or to give up the right to a speedy trial, which I can't see them doing, because Bryan Kohberger has, I guarantee you, told them, I am not sitting, if I waive my right to a speedy trial, my trial could be 3 years down the line. I'm not waiting that long, right? So that's what's got this confused to me. We'll have to wait and see. We're not allowed to see it or watch it. We will find out later. I believe media will be in there. We'll find out what happens today. And I will make a post on my community tab. Tammy says, sending you love from Taiwan, Willow. Been watching your videos since Gabby Petito, and at the end of the day, your readings always end up being the most accurate amongst the YouTubers. Thank you. And thank you for watching, Tammy. And thank you for being a subscriber and being here for as long as you have. I appreciate you. Jenna, you are on the list, Jenna. So yeah, part of that, I'm going to, the next video I do, you guys, I will have everything that's in the basket arranged. I wasn't expecting to do this live today. I was expecting to do a couple of reads and get them uploaded. So what I will do, my next live or my next video, because my next video is going to be a read, a new read, you guys. So what I will do is I will show it at the beginning of that read. Some of the things that are going to be in that basket. And one of them, there was a lot of people that were sad that they missed out on the rose quartz collection. That's the bracelet, the pendulum, and the necklace. So I did go and purchase another one. And that alone is a $60 value. So well worth a $10 super chat to get your name on that wheel. I will be putting the names on the wheel live for you to see, and I will be doing the draw live for you to see. It is a program on my computer here. I put in everybody's name and I spin the wheel and you see it, whose name it lands on. So everything is above board there. So thank you, Jenna. You were on the wheel. Tammy Lynn says, I completely agree with what you're saying about infringing upon his right to a speedy trial. He'll get off on some sort of technicality. Unfortunately, I believe he is the perp. No, he's not going to get off. I don't believe he'll get off. Sybil says, don't forget to hit that like button. Yes, please hit that like button. It's free to do. Hater's Gonna Hate says, I'm at the table to the right, went out the building. I don't know what you're saying there, my dear. Are you saying Hater's Gonna Hate that you are at the courthouse? Oh. I was supposed to be a text to your daughter. All right. Make sure you get that to her so she can find you. Kate Bell says, yay, love your reads. Yes, it's going to be with the Ancestor deck. I've got the deck right here, matter of factly, getting ready. I'm going to do a couple of reads today, and they will be released over this week. So let me just see here. Oh, stop screen sharing. That's why. So yeah, they're right here. I am. And this is the bumper deck. So many people are asking me to get a deck like this made for them. The bumper deck, anybody can make them. They would be probably too expensive for people if I were to make them for you. Well, not me, but get them made because they take a little bit to make. Now, the Ancestor deck, you have to have your own elders make your deck. They're based on your ancestors. So no two decks are going to be the same. That's how they are made, to respect your past loved ones and your ancestors. Anything else, you're inviting things in that you don't want in. When you disrespect your ancestors, that's not a good thing. So yes, I will be using the Ancestor deck and I will be using the bumper deck. Now the bumper deck, anybody can make. So if you're good, I am no artist. So that's why I get my auntie, the same one that made this one, to make this one for me. Sybil's laughing. I do that all the time. Oh my God, text the wrong person. He's not going to get away with it, Bev. Like I said, if you listen to the beginning, when I explain this, like even with that DNA, there's just too many things to be coincidence. Like everybody's saying, well, it's not his DNA. And if they can't use it, they shouldn't have been able to use that 23andMe and all this, right? Well, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, that the DNA on that snap matches Bryan Kohberger, right? At the end of the day, it matches. How they got there, yes, I agree. Prosecution, just give it to them. You can blank out people's names or identifiers, but this is what we did. This is how we got to his father, which showed that that DNA on the snap matched this guy's biological son. Give it to them. Give it to them. I've done several reads on BK. The one I did on December 3rd, before we even knew who BK was, describes BK to a T, that the police had a suspect, and everybody's going, no, they don't. No, they don't. Yes, they do. The card said they did. And there you go. They did. They did. Yay. Thanks for the Ancestor read on BK. I'd love to learn how to maybe make my own Ancestor deck. Can you make one for yourself based off of your ancestors, or does it need to be handed down by family? It needs to be handed down by your elders. So your elders make the deck for you based off of your ancestors who have passed and dealings that they did while they were here in the physical world. And then it is gifted to you. So even if you're the artist, you can sit down with an aunt, an uncle, your mom, your dad, elder cousins, older cousins, stuff like that, that can go back in your history and get a list of your ancestors and what they did when they were here in the physical world. And that's what you base your deck off of. Any other way, making a deck and calling it an ancestor deck, you're inviting evil in. Your ancestors are there for you because you've respected them. They connect with you because they have a vested interest in you. So you have to respect them back. Good morning, Marie. Dawn says, I'm new to joining chat today. Have they suspended the charges? No, that will never happen. They're going to try and get the indictment dismissed. I don't think that's going to happen. Sybil says, once you throw away garbage, you're giving up your rights. Yes. Now, the thing with that, Sybil, I don't think they are disputing that. What they are in dispute of is how they got a match to Bryan Kohberger's father through the DNA testing. From the sample that they had on the sheath to Bryan Kohberger's father. That's the stuff they want to know. And they want all that information. Well, some of it is confidential. They don't have to turn that over. But the bottom line is, regardless of all that stuff, that DNA on that knife sheath matches Bryan Kohberger to 1 quadrillion that it could be anybody else. So they're throwing at the wall and throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what's going to stick. Yeah, and we only know a partial part of the evidence that the prosecution has. They don't have to put everything that they have in the probable cause affidavit. So, or they don't have to present everything that they have to the grand jury. They don't have to present everything they have at a preliminary. So they still have a lot more that we know nothing about. And I'm going based on what they have shown so far. I believe he's guilty. You take care, Running Grey Wolf. Nice to see you as always. You don't have an aunt, an uncle, something like that? Somebody that you look up to as family if you don't have any elders? Maybe a longtime family friend, something like that. It's got to be gifted to you. And the person that gifts it has to have a tie to your ancestors. You're very welcome, Sybil. Tammy Lynn, I went over this. When you say that FBA doesn't follow the rules on IgG input BK's DNA to a private database without his consent, BK does not have a standing in that. When you got an unknown sample of DNA, you can go to whatever means necessary to find out whose DNA that is. Now, the only thing that could go wrong, well, and it's not even going to go wrong in the case, because Bryan does not have a standing in with what they're comparing their unknown DNA sample to. The only ones that have a standing are the ones that have their DNA in the IgG or 23andMe, whatever that stuff is that you put your DNA to get your history. Those are the only ones that would have a claim against the police for going through their DNA or comparing their DNA. They're the only ones with a claim, not Bryan Kohberger. When you are a suspect in a quadruple homicide, the police can compare your DNA to other samples. So that, like that unknown DNA that they got from that snap, they can compare that to whatever they want to try and get and find a match. So the only one that has a claim against the police using their DNA that was in the databases for 23andMe and all that are the people who had their DNA in there. And if they didn't check that box saying that that their DNA couldn't be used by the police, then they're even screwed. I'm glad you survived the storm, Marie. Terrible flooding out your way, my dear. Terrible, horrible. Hello, Michaela. Hi, everyone. Haven't caught a live viewers in ages. So glad to hear your logical words again on this case, especially. Well, thank you for being here and nice to see you again. Welcome back. Oh, thank you, Sybil. Says I did ancestry DNA testing and you give all your rights away, so that will never stand up in court. Yeah, and I think there's another one that has, I think it's 23andMe, that you have to check that box. There's a little box or something there that you have to check if you don't want anybody else being able to access your DNA, like the police and stuff like that. You have to check that box. If you don't check that box, then like Sybil just said, she did ancestry DNA testing and you give away all your rights. Now, the specific sites themselves, like Ancestry and 23andMe, may have their own rules also. But if the person doesn't check that box saying that they're not willing to share their information with police forces and stuff like that for purposes like this, then they're screwed too. I don't know what you're talking about, Jay, but you have no idea how an ancestor deck works. Yes, it does have to be gifted to you. So please don't be putting stuff in my chat that is not true. I only worry about this DNA stuff is FBI broke any protocols around the investigation. Even if they did, like I said, the only person that would have a claim is the people who submitted their DNA to the database, not Bryan Kohberger. And Jimmy Soliday says, all I hear is Radio Gaga. What do you mean, Jimmy? Yeah, so we'll just ignore the people that have no idea what they're talking about. Thank you guys for the hearts. Okay, so we got quite a few people today that got in on the draw. So like I said, you guys, I'm going to do a couple of other reads. And at the beginning of the reads, I will show what is going to be, well, some of what is going to be in the basket. And I will be doing that draw on September 23rd. It's going to run for the month. So Michaelette says, yes, I agree with you on the database issue, but I hope that Moscow law enforcement follow the rules on chain of custody of evidence. Otherwise, could it get suppressed from trial since it could have been tampered with? I'm pretty sure, I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that the chain of custody of evidence would have been followed. I mean, especially with something like that, that's evidence. You know what I mean? Like, and that is a really important piece of evidence. So I can't see them letting that get out of their sight. You know what I mean? Or proper protocol not being followed. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But I do think that that is their biggest, well, one of their biggest fights towards trying to get this dismissal of the indictment. But also with that, with the dismissal of the indictment, they're saying that the grand jurors, there wasn't enough selected, or there wasn't enough brought in to make a selection from. There wasn't enough on sitting on there. There was the DNA stuff. There was a bunch of stuff that they had to find beyond a reasonable doubt, not just probable cause. So there's a few things that they're going to be fighting to try and get this dismissal of the indictment. I don't think it's going to fly. I think the indictment is going to stand. That's just my thoughts, my opinion. Others may have a different opinion, and that's okay. But I believe that the indictment is going to stand. Nicola says, but yes, very well said. Well, regarding the DNA database issue, the only thing is that Moscow local police secured the scene at first, and local law enforcement aren't the most experienced in homicide cases. I can't speak about how law enforcement is there. All I know is they found the perpetrator and made an arrest pretty quick. Like, look at some of our cases, Summer Wells, Suzanne Morphew, just to name a couple. There's no arrest yet. We have an arrest. And I believe that they have the guy. There is overwhelming, even though it's circumstantial evidence, overwhelming circumstantial evidence that puts him there. And like I said, with his car being caught on video, his GPS tracking, his phone tracking, whatever they did to track his phone and stuff like that, the convenient times that his phone was on and off, being in that neighborhood, there was no reason. Like, even if you were somebody from Pennsylvania that lives in Washington but decides that you want to go on late night drives around Moscow, Idaho, I'll leave that there. There is no, unless you knew that area was there, it's not like you see this right off the main street. It's a very highly populated residential area. Yes, there's a lot of students that go, like, that have housing around there. So unless you know somebody there, which if Bryan Kohberger knows somebody there and was visiting somebody there, then there's your alibi. Say it. Because your car is there on video. It proves it's your car by the license plate not being on the front. Who else drives around with no front license plate in a white Elantra that you own, Bryan Kohberger? Your DNA on the knife sheath. You're spotted in the area. Your phone is spotted in that area. You have no reason to be in that area. Like I said, there's no gas station. There's no little corner store. There's no Walmart, nothing that brings you to that exact area over and over, because 12 times you went to that area before the crime. And then after the crime, you went right back there the next morning. And then you hadn't gone back ever again after the murders. You didn't go back ever again. You took off, which came out in my read too, that the perpetrator has taken off. I think there was 24 on the grand jury, or they brought in 24. I'm not sure how many are on the grand jury. We don't typically deal with that here in Canada. I'm from Canada, so Michelina says, I believe they have the guy too. However, local law enforcement statements about how this sheath was found at the scene were described differently in the probable cause affidavits from PA, Washington, and Idaho. There's only one probable cause affidavit. There's search warrants in Washington and in PA. But there's only one probable cause affidavit. Good morning, Denali. Nice to see you. So it's going to be interesting to see what this hearing is about. It starts at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. It's not being broadcast. There's no cameras in the court. I believe that there is one pool camera, and it will not be shown until after the hearing is done. So we will have to wait for that. Let's see what comes out, you guys. The jury trial right now, as we know it, is set to begin on October 2nd. I'm not sure, but I'd have to go back and look at that, Michelina, but everything that I have seen has described it exactly the way it was. So stop this. Okay, why is that still? Okay. So let me just get rid of these. Close those tabs. Okay. Sorry, you guys, just have to get that closed out there. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys go so I can get on these other reads that I'm going to do, and they will be released sometime this week, even though I'm going to record them today. They're all my reads you guys will find under the live tab. If you go back to December 3rd, you will see that read that I was talking about today regarding Bryan Kohberger. And when I described him to a T and said on December 3rd that police have their suspect before police even announced that they had a suspect, it also came out in that video that they have evidence and arrest would be coming real soon. So if you haven't checked it out, go check that out. It was on December 3rd. You'll find it under the live tab on my YouTube page. And I'm going to let you guys go so I can get going on these reads. So until the next time, you guys, please take care of yourself. Please stay safe. I might do a live card pull on the Bryan Kohberger thing before I leave. What do you guys think? Do you want me to do? It would have to be tomorrow, though. I could do a live card pull on your questions. What do you think regarding the Kohberger case, where you guys can ask a question and I'll pull cards to see what answers we get? Do you want me to do that, or do you want a read? Which one do you want tomorrow? Put it in the comments right now. Quick, before I take off. Michelina. Yeah, go back to the very first ones when there was no indication who this could ever be. It all came out in my reads. So what do you guys want tomorrow? Do you want the read, or do you want me to go live and pull cards to answer your questions on the Bryan Kohberger and maybe some of the other cases? Which one? Do you want the read or do you want the live? I'm waiting. I'll give it like 2 minutes. Well, you're going to get a read this week anyway. So it's either I will put out 2 reads or I will put out a read and the live. How about that? Okay, I'm seeing the read. Okay, so you guys will get the read tomorrow. And then I may even go live maybe Thursday with just pulling cards on your questions. Okay, so until the next time, you guys, please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Always be aware of your surroundings. Be vigilant. There's a lot of crazies out there. I love you guys to the moon and back. Bye-bye for now.